Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bad Pitch Energy. I am joined as always by my co-host Robyn. Robyn, how are you this week?
I'm doing great, Tom. How are you?
I am wonderful, and I'm
Music still on.
I know it is.
Okay, just make sure that's intentional.
It's my cue too. You know, we need a little bit of a lead-in, something to energize us.
Okay.
And then I am very conscious of the fact that we had the music this week. So we were, in fact, not making a similar mistake to previous weeks. But it was another era. Every week there's something new in Major League Baseball. But I think most importantly, Robyn, we have rebranded our Twitter account to honor the number one off-season acquisition for the Houston Astros, and that is none other than
Kai-Wei Tang. So we were actually at last night's game when this rebrand happened, and Kai-Wei he's actually started off as a relief pitcher, as a member of bullpen, probably our most reliable bullpen arm,
100%.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
But I think they started stretching him out to be added to this 6-man rotation, essentially. And I think he is what we all expected Tatsuya Yamai to be.
Yes,
and I even tweeted out, Kai-Wei Tang, can I ask for your hand in marriage? So we won last night. It was great. He had an amazing outing. And then so we just became Kai-Wei's king.
Kai-Wei's king. I mean, this was, slightly alcohol infused. I think I did it, and I was like, hey, Robyn, look at our display name. But you know what? Why not? Right?
Why not
honor somebody who has been the quintessential team player, has been dominant. I remember us mocking this trade when it happened in the offseason.
Right. I didn't mock it. I thought it was like, oh, that's interesting, but I didn't.
Okay, Robyn.
Yeah,
you knew.
I wasn't actually like mad about it. We even made friends with his little fan club Twitter. Looked like maybe 100 followers.
Yeah, he's got some good fans out there in the Twitter street. So good for Kai-Wei, and we're happy to honor him. And I am happy to continue honoring him so long as he continues to be like the number one reliever in the Astros bullpen and a really great spot starter for our team. Probably our number 2 starter outside of Spencer Arrighetti, which is kind of wild to say.
Yeah. He went 5 full innings. There were a couple. No, what we actually made me go, woo, buddy, was he was so fast. I think he immediately saw that there was a runner heading to home. So he went to cover home.
That's right.
As Christian Vasquez went to chase after ball and hit it to him, and he tagged him out at home. That was when, like, this guy, he has that clutch gene, or he's willing to hustle.
He does, and you know what? He has that baseball intelligence that we see a lot of guys lack, and so what a treat to watch him in those situations. And he is really one of the few people keeping the season afloat right now in a season that has gone just horribly wrong for the Houston Astros, with another huge blow that we received on Sunday about Jose Altuve.
Yeah, we actually saw Jose Altuve walk out. He hit a ground. He grounded into a double play, but he didn't even try to run for first. No. He immediately started heading to the dugout, holding his side. And that's when everyone went, oh, no, that's an oblique strain. And that was confirmed today by the Astros. So, I mean, 70% of our starting roster is all on the IL at this point. Like, what can you do? Like, literally, what can you do? And when you have, like, who do you run on a 26-man list?
Well, and I think at this point, I am off the Joe Espada train. The man is working miracles. Any day that he's able to win a game is a miracle. Like, this is a AAA roster at best. The injuries have been devastating since the first week of the season. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, do I think Joe Espada will be in the Astros dugout next season? Probably not, but let him ride out this season, maybe somehow work a
Mhm.
miracle because the Astros injuries have been, to say they've been devastating is really putting it lightly. When you lose
Right.
your ace pitcher, when
Right.
you lose your prized offseason signing and he's not able, still
Right.
not able to get it right. When you lose
Right.
Carlos Correa for the year, when Jeremy
Mhm.
Pena has played in only a handful of games, now Jose
Mhm.
Altuve. The problem with oblique injuries, Robyn, as you know, is you could be back in 2 weeks or you could be back in
Mhm.
2 months. And
Right.
so the Astros are in a really, really, really tough spot. It does seem
Mhm.
like help is on the way. Jeremy Pena is likely coming back for the Minnesota series.
Jake
So
Myers is on
is
his way back.
Jake Myers as well. So,
Mhm.
you know, my hope is that those guys can contribute and keep the ship afloat, if you will. But I mean,
Mhm.
losing Jose Altuve for any extended period of time, even at his big age, is a significant, significant
Right.
loss for the Astros.
Right. I don't know if I've hopped off the fire spotted train, but I'm definitely still on the fire Dana Brown train. Because as like a general manager, like it's your job to do the proper scouting, to find the missing pieces that we need. And it just
Yeah.
feels like everyone he's acquired this off season has disappointed except for Kaiway.
Highway.
But
Yeah, I
that's my
agree. And
word.
Robin,
Kaiway is king.
I
Mhm.
I also like, I think where I really do fault Dana Brown here
Mhm.
is number one in the bullpen. They had to have had an inkling
Right.
that Josh Hader was still not recovered from his
Right.
season-ending injury in 2025. So the fact that you were going into this
Mhm.
offseason, or you know, starting the season with, hey, let's hope that Brian Abreu can be a closer.
Mhm.
But also the outfield is pitiful. I mean, the outfield on any given
We're
night, you don't
running
know.
a Sugarland outfield.
Yeah. It's literally just like dealer's choice, and I'm gonna tell you what
Mhm.
really, really hurts is the clear salary dump of Mauricio Dubon to
Yes.
the Braves. We've said before, we know Mauricio Dubon is not
Mhm.
gonna be, you know, the game's elite offensive
Right.
players, but he's gonna be a solid, solid defender, one of the
Mhm.
best in the league,
Right.
and he is great for the clubhouse and great for vibes.
Right.
Well, Mauricio Dubon is doing all of those things, except now in Atlanta, he is this offensive machine. And if
Yes.
you talk to a Braves fan right now,
Mhm.
they will
They
tell you
love him.
the MVP of their season currently is Mauricio Dubon.
No, they absolutely love him, and this goes back to me saying, I think it really was the hitting coach last year who did not properly, like, I don't know what, but, like, no one could hit last year, and just
Mhm.
seeing everyone explode offensively here in Houston, but also seeing the pieces we traded away like
Yeah.
explode offensively elsewhere. It's like, okay, so there clearly was a common denominator.
Yes.
And I think it's just especially it hurts for us in Houston, especially since he was such a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And we replaced him with Nick Allen. And this is a guy who we actually haven't even rolled out like
No.
at all. Like
He's
he's
been a
maybe a
non-factor.
pinch hitter, maybe comes in like last couple innings of a game if he does come in. Like I feel bad for him. I genuinely feel bad for
Yeah.
him because no one here cares for him like at all.
No, not at all. And and again, we knew what we were getting. And
Mhm.
Nick Allen was not, in an ideal situation,
Mhm.
Nick Allen was not supposed to be a key contributor to the 2026
Right.
Houston Astros. Period. End
Right.
of story.
Right.
Unfortunately for Nick and for Dana Brown and for Joe Espada, we are in a position in which that role as a super utility guy is
Mhm.
more important now than ever before
Right.
because we have so many gaps, so many injuries, so many
Mhm.
guys who may or may not be playing out of position. And so
Right.
it has just become really a nightmare in terms of roster construction. And so good
Right.
for Joe Espada on trying to make it work night in and night out. But
Right.
I mean, the Astros are still, now. Granted, they won the series with
Mhm.
the Rangers during this rivalry weekend in MLB, but
Right.
they are still in a pretty tough spot, and I do believe they're on
Mhm.
track for
We're still
nearly.
6 games back from the division.
6 games back. That's a miracle that they're only 6 games back, but they're on track for how many
99
losses,
losses.
Robyn? 99
99
losses.
losses. I mean, at least I'm like, hey, you know what? I got a cute hat, fun hat out of
You
the
did,
game
yes.
yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Honestly, at this point, like I'm just like, let's ride, baby. Let's keep
Yeah.
losing. If that brings down ticket prices, like, let's go.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
here. I'll go watch.
I mean, it's still a good time going to an Astros game.
Right.
Definitely spending less on tickets than we used to. You and I, went to the game last night because our travel schedule over the next few months, we are likely not going to be together at Dyken Park until at least mid to late July, possibly even into August. And so that makes me very sad because by August, the baseball season is winding down. But I am hopeful that, there is a possibility that we can still see some meaningful Astros baseball in the month of August. And I think that is within the realm of possibility.
Yeah. But what are you drinking this week, Tom?
I got a little cherry ginger ale, but I finished.
Oh, that's right.
What about you?
I'm having, so this is, if you know, I'm having some Bing Hong Ta. I'm getting in that mindset of ready to go to China. I don't think I'm ready. No, I will not want to come back, which is terrible. But no, I already have that deep feeling that I'm gonna be miserable as soon as I get a step foot back in the States.
I mean, I don't blame you. There's a lot going on here. Speaking of things going on, it has been, as I alluded to, rivalry weekend in MLB.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Robyn, as just like a concept?
As a concept, I think I love a good rivalry weekend sort of deal. I think because here in Houston, our rival for this weekend is the Texas Rangers, and we may suck ass, but we will get it together to keep that silver boot, right? Which was especially fun this time around since it looked like some Rangers fans tried to take over Dyken, and then they got shut out for 2 games essentially, or yesterday they got like one run in. So I mean, they did unfortunately shut us out today, but can't win them all. But no, it was especially funny. It was funny when they really tried to take over Dyken, and LOL. But I will say, it feels this rivalry weekend does feel a little bit more like that interstate sort of rivalry versus like a genuine historic rivalry of sorts. Because like y'all had the Subway Series with the Yankees and the Mets. You had the Dodgers Angels.
Yep, the freeway
so then you end up having like.
Well, Robyn, you're forgetting
like
the most
leftover teams. You have like leftover teams playing Red Sox and Braves. Oh, the poop! Yes, the poop
series.
The poop series.
This is one of my favorites. If you are watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, you can see. The infamous poop series is between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously an interstate rivalry. Yes. But when the game starts, and they've adjusted the score bug since then. This is an older picture, but it always started, and you had the P for Phillies, you had the 0 for the score, you then had the 0 for the other team's opposing team score, and then the P for the Pirates. And it is lovingly known as the poop series. I love it. Bring back, I think both teams have adjusted their graphics so it doesn't read as poop. What a shame, because that is one of the most underappreciated series during this rivalry weekend, excuse me. I do like the concept of a rivalry weekend, Robyn, but like to your point of there are some series that are just not hitting the way they should.
Yeah, I think it just ends up happening. You end up with like 4 teams who are leftovers, and they have to play each other. So you have the Red Sox playing the Braves, and like there's no historical rivalry there. Like the Red Sox's biggest rival is the Yankees, but the Yankees are busy in the Subway Series with the Mets, and like that I think is also a genuine like rivalry, because it is. I think we talked about this like offline. but it's like there's a very clear divide who is a Mets fan and who is a Yankees fan in New
Yes.
York City.
Yes.
And so it's one of those things where you have some genuine rivalries that don't get to play during rivalry weekend because of the way they design it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, an interesting weekend nonetheless, but let's also talk about something interesting. And I have been waiting all week to talk about this, and that is Noah Syndergaard. And Noah Syndergaard has had an interesting history in Major League Baseball. He was part of the young core of promising New York Mets pitchers back in the early to mid 2010s. He was someone who was given affectionately the nickname Thor. And he was someone who was really looked at as possibly one of the up and coming star ace major league pitchers during the mid 2010s. And rightfully so. The Mets had gotten him in a trade for R.A. Dickey back in the day. He was in the Blue Jays farm system. He became part of the Mets major league team in 2015. And he really stuck. And so he was someone who we loved as Mets fans rooting for. He then, after the 2022 season, rejected a qualifying offer after saying how much he loved playing in New York. He rejected, and this is important context, rejected the qualifying offer from the Mets, and he signed a 1-year contract with the Angels. He was then, bounced around, traded to the Phillies. He was actually part of the 2022 Phillies World Series team. Of course, he didn't win that year because Houston Astros did. And then he ultimately signed with the Dodgers in the 2023 season. He then bounced around a little bit to the Guardians, and he's fallen off. I mean, he was not able to overcome his injury history. He's a guy that threw really hard, took a toll on his arm. So it looks like Noah Syndergaard now is trying to rebrand himself at the ripe age of 33 years old. And the way in which we can tell he's doing that is because recently, a few weeks ago, there was an event at the White House in which the president was highlighting physical fitness in children. And I think they're bringing back that, what's that test that we took in PE class?
The Pacer test?
The Pacer test and the National Physical Education Award, whatever it was. And, Noah Syndergaard was there sort of promoting it, which on the surface I would have no problem with. But then you see Noah, making the rounds on Fox News that night. He's with Laura Ingraham and he's talking about President Trump is so great. And first of all, President Trump being the face of any type of physical fitness initiative is hysterical because, to my knowledge, according to his chief of staff, he eats McDonald's daily. But number two, it became very clear that Noah Syndergaard is getting on the conservative grift train, which is very, very easy to do because the one thing conservatives and specifically MAGA is so desperate for is to be accepted into mainstream pop culture. And so, you have Noah Syndergaard, who was one of the better known pitchers in MLB, played for storied franchises such as the New York Mets. I can barely even say that with a straight face. But, the Mets are a big franchise in baseball, for better or for worse. And so the fact that they're getting this validation from Noah Syndergaard is a big deal for the MAGA universe. And so, Noah likely sees this as an opportunity to be like, let me ingratiate myself into this crowd. I'm still young. Maybe I can get a podcast. Maybe I can get a show. Okay, I can deal with that. But then he goes on to Tommy Lahiran's show, who I will say this about Tommy, who has been through many phases in her life. Whoever is her plastic surgeon deserves a raise.
I will say, I thought she looks awful.
Well, the hair color is
bad. She looks bad.
The hair color is not doing her well. No, I will say. Listen,
no, she looks
everybody
terrible.
wants Mar-a-Lago face. Tommy looks pretty decent in this picture, outside of the hair color that she's got going on.
It's not even the hair color. It's just she looks terrible. Like, whoever did her, like, aged her terribly. That's classic Mar-a-Lago face.
We can agree to
I
disagree,
don't know who
but
you're crediting. I don't know who you're crediting.
well, I was trying to tee this up without like completely piling on Tommy. But here's also an interesting fun fact about Tommy Lahren, who is a massive New York Mets fan.
Mhm,
Her husband, former
mhm,
catcher JP Arancibia, was named the Mets catching coach over the offseason. And so she's over there interviewing Noah Syndergaard on her podcast. And Noah's on camera there. And I mean, we have a screen grab here. I'm not going to make any accusations, but the eyes are interesting and they indicate something. But I'm not going to say what they may indicate the use of. But, you know, he's on there talking about sports and everything gone woke. And he, of course,
mhm,
can't help himself but bring up the New York Mets. And so he
mhm,
brings up the New York Mets and he specifically names, you know, this whole thing with Mr. Met embracing Mom Donnie, and he's going off on how Mom Donnie is so bad for New York City. You know, let's not talk about how New York City is currently at all-time low crime levels, has balanced their budget, but let's not talk about those things. But he's there, you know, oh yeah, this is why Pete Alonso, what they traded Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo. Okay, number one, they didn't trade Pete Alonso. They did not re-sign Pete Alonso, who then ended up signing with the Orioles. Number two, they traded Brandon Nimmo because, and it was flawed, but they viewed that as a very bad contract long term and that it would age very poorly. What Noah was insinuating was that the Mets did so for political reasons. And we've seen this online where there's this narrative now that Francisco Lindor, who, you know, is more left leaning, and his wife, Katia, is supportive of Zoran Mamdani, that somehow Francisco Lindor is pulling the strings and got all of the conservative Mets out. Now, besides that not being true, him talking about how Alonso was one of the most conservative Mets is such a joke because there is documented history of Pete Alonso being very supportive of the LGBT community on Pride nights, including changing
mhm,
his song to Bohemian Rhapsody, his walk-up song on Pride nights. Like, hello. And then number two, during the George Floyd
mhm,
2020 protests that were happening, he was a very vocal supporter of both his teammates who were speaking out, but also there's a Instagram thread in which someone kind of goes after Pete for posting about Black Lives Matter. And, you know, the typical retort at the time was, well, why don't all lives matter? And Pete went right back and
right.
was like, well, here's why. And let me tell you why Black Lives Matter. And so Pete is not a conservative guy. Now, he may lean more center or right, but he's someone who has been, you know, dare I say, a little bit woke over the years. So you've got Noah
Mhm,
Syndergaard over here just kind of espousing complete fiction in,
mhm,
again, an attempt to gain relevance with the MAGA crowd. I guarantee
mhm,
you in a couple months, we're going to see some shitty podcasts from Noah Syndergaard going in on the wokeism that's destroying Major League Baseball. It's just going to happen. And you have Tommy, whose husband is on the New York Mets Major League coaching
right.
staff, agreeing with him and also adding in her 2 cents. What a bad look for
The
Tommy,
Mets.
for her husband, and for the Mets that you have the wife of a current member of your major league coaching staff
Mhm,
engaging in fiction about former Mets players and why they have left the team. Again, this is what I don't understand, Robyn. Why does this type of drama always find the Mets? You do not have another team who has the wife of a coach on a conservative platform attacking their own organization. This is just another distraction, and I do not understand why the Mets always get embroiled in these bizarre and like completely unexpected scandals.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that this is one of those where I don't. So you know how we have to do background checks, right? Whenever we like plebeian normal people have to, like whenever we get a new job, we always have to do a background check, right? I feel like when you're in a public facing position, similarly to her husband, right? And when you're in when you're going to be essentially a face of an organization like the Mets, I feel like you have to do a background check and you have to like have that conversation of, is your wife essentially going to be a representative of us?
Yep.
And I don't know if they had that conversation.
So, I think they did. I think they did because Tommy deleted this off of her main account. Number one, she had tweeted this whole like thing, a video clip. It barely got any traction, but then it looks like the Mets must have said, "Hey, you got to take that down. You are speaking as if you are a representative of the organization," and she did delete it. So TBD on that.
Right, but this is essentially this gives Syndergaard legitimacy in a way that he was really hoping for, but so far it does seem like a lot of people aren't buying into it. But you know, I think this is, I don't know, for me this is more one of those like haha funny moments, in the sense that like, I mean, you mentioned those eyes, right? I think this is one where a lot of fans are looking at and go, really?
Yeah.
Are we sure here? I don't think it may have given him legitimacy with the MAGA crowd, and maybe he'll have his podcast in a couple months, but it definitely lost him a lot of legitimacy with current MLB fans. But I think what sparked interesting conversation that's like really sparked from that is though, was this like Team Woke versus Team Chud thing, right?
Yes. Oh boy.
And so I think like, we came up with our own Team Woke and Team Chud lineup.
We sure did.
So Team Woke, I guess to caveat for our listeners, this is not a comprehensive list. There are probably people who are much more woke than this or much more Chud than this. But this is more of a compilation of those who have been more publicly vocal about where they stand in regards to things publicly. And for a couple of the Team Chuds, we will say those are just pure Chud vibes. But
yes.
Okay, but for Team Woke, we put Julio Rodriguez as our center fielder, Francisco Lindor as our shortstop, Pete Alonso as our first base, Byron Buxton as DH, Kike Hernandez in left, Mookie Betts in right, Eugenio Suarez at third, Ben Rice as our catcher, and Nico Horner at second. All who have publicly in one way or another been vocal about LGBTQ rights, denounced ICE, very pro BLM, pro LGBTQ, just things that we generally categorize as woke. Nico Horner was also pro-abortion, so very, so yeah, just people who I guess fall more in the traditional woke categories.
Yeah. Well, and I think the big name here is like Francisco Lindor has been such a target of the right so far this season, but also someone who, you know, we are fans of during 162 and not so much during October, like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. But Kike Hernandez, to my knowledge, is the only member of the Dodgers who has denounced the ICE raids happening in Los Angeles. And so good on him. But Team Chud, whew. Let's walk through this list real quick. So leading off in center field is Brendan Nimmo, and we'll come back to that. Trey Turner at shortstop, Bryce Harper at first base, Dalton Rushing, self-explanatory, in the DH position, Jarren Duran in left, Aaron Judge.
Hold on, real quick. Yes, we'll touch on those. You run for the list. Sorry, go ahead.
Aaron Judge is in right. Manny Machado, low key but not so low key, at third base, JT Realmuto at the catching position, and none other than Matt Shaw, Mr. I am missing a game to go to Charlie Kirk's funeral, rounding out the lineup in his rightful position, batting ninth at second base.
Yeah, so I mean, with Jarren Duran, that's one who that always like pisses me off in a way because he is Mexican. He plays for Team Mexico, and then he is super MAGA. I mean, we already talked about his little slur situation, but like, there are pictures of him circulating with MAGA flags on his truck. Like, that's disgusting. And then Aaron Judge is on here for those who may be offended, but he took pictures with Trump and looked pretty happy taking those pictures with Trump. So
sure did.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory in this day and age.
And Dalton Rushing is just unlikable. Let's be real. Yeah. It hurts to have Brandon Nimmo on this list, but he's a big conservative.
He's living his best life in Texas now.
He's living his best life. It broke my heart to see him last night. I mean, I miss the guy. I've always liked him. I've always rooted for him, but he does have to be on this list. Manny Machado,
that receding hairline, though.
Poor Brandon. He's trying to make it work.
That receding hairline, man.
But Manny Machado is, I mean, he's one of the most unlikable guys in Major League Baseball. Sadly, he's been seen wearing Let's Go Brandon shirts and just like making some stupid comments. So sadly it is what it is, but let's take a look at some of our starting pitchers. And let's talk about Team Woke. None other.
So
go for it.
Our starting pitcher is Spencer Strider, Mr. Bernie Bro himself. And then just from honorable mentions of other players who just we talked about in our compilation, but just didn't make it onto the team for various reasons. You have Max Fried, Max Scherzer, Mark Canha, Tristan Casas, Mr. Paints his nails to piss off the conservative folks, Jose Altuve, Jack Flaherty, Marcus Semien, who was also rumored to have beef with Corey Seager over political reasons, Pete Crow Armstrong, Freddie Freeman. So.
Yeah. And on Team Chud, we have our starting pitcher, Blake Trinan of the Los Angeles Dodgers, notably paid his multiple respects to Charlie Kirk by putting Charlie's name on his hat. But some honorable mentions. Team Israel, Clayton Kershaw recently retired. Mark Teixeira currently running for Congress here in Texas. Dustin May, Kurt Suzuki, who surprised me. Juan Soto, there has been rumors about Juan, and it breaks my heart if it's true. And Roger Clemens, of not a surprise, and Michael Bush. Of course, this is all alleged in speculation, but this is also pretty well documented.
Yeah, Michael Bush, also a huge fan of Charlie Kirk. Kurt Suzuki wore a MAGA hat back in 2019 to the White House when they met after the Nationals won. Clayton Kershaw, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I feel like Team Israel is pretty self-explanatory in this day and age. If you're willing to put on that hat, then I think you're a chud.
Agreed. Well, Robyn, shifting gears to another scandal in Major League Baseball, which of course has a Mets connection, but that is Edwin Diaz. There have been some serious allegations that Edwin Diaz has been involved in illegal cockfighting in Puerto Rico specifically. Actually, not a surprise. He's spoken about this pretty candidly, but he was apparently either photographed or promoted wearing his Dodgers uniform. Thank God it was a Dodgers uniform and not the Mets uniform. And there is now like this kind of uproar that's happening about what happens with Edwin Diaz and what happens with, once he comes back from the IL, likely in midsummer. Will he be suspended? Will there be an investigation? What are your thoughts on this, Robyn?
I think it's very interesting that no one in MLB media has really taken up and discussed this. I think it's really funny in the sense that you get the memes like the National League's cockfighting trifecta has been completed with the with the way that like the other teams have been doing their little cock thrust celebration. Sidebar: Giants have also been on a losing streak after they were told not to do it,
What they get.
but they instead, like, their next celebration was they just bowed to the crowd. Like, just MLB, let them have their little, like, fun, right? But no, it's just really interesting that the MLB has not touched on this. You've seen all the memes about how guess like I'm worried for his translator because we know where we've seen this before, right?
Yes,
So
we
it's just
have.
very interesting that, like, apparently, I don't know. I think I saw that cockfighting was still it may still be legal in Puerto Rico, but I think it may have also just been banned in the past couple years as well. But what a weird storyline. But yeah, it just feels like there is always some level of protection for Dodgers players that you wouldn't see, like, if he were still a Met. The NY Post would be running away with the story, right?
Robyn, when I tell you, if he was still on the Mets, it would be front page in every newspaper in New York. It would get traction from every national beat writer.
Right.
And hell, it probably would have already garnered a response from Major League Baseball. And I was also confused. I was reading an article, and I forget, it was a New York paper. And they had reached out to the Dodgers for a comment. They had reached out to Edwin Diaz's camp for a comment. And then they had reached out to the Mets for a comment. And none of them commented. And I'm like, why are you contacting the Mets? He does not even
play. He doesn't play for them anymore.
Bring them into this mess. And I'm like, and then the reporter was like, well, if the Mets don't say anything, then that's like sort of an indictment of them thinking that this is okay for Edwin to be doing. Then are you also going to ask the other 28 teams in Major League Baseball? Like, I get he played for the Mets for a while, but he's a former Seattle Mariner. You're going to contact the Mariners for I really struggle with this, Robyn. The Mets are involved in so much bullshit. And it's also this manufactured media LOL Mets, which is funny most of the time. But like you even have an example yesterday. The Mets and the Yankees game
Joe Davis.
It was a national game. It was on Fox. Joe Davis was calling the game. And the Mets, Carson Bench made a pretty big screw up in the field. He dropped, at the time, one, but actually two balls that he should have easily caught. And you hear Joe Davis, oh, the Mets. Oh, my gosh, the Mets. Meanwhile, the Yankees made a very similar screw up earlier in the game and no reaction. And then literally today, and it was a local game today, thankfully, it wasn't called nationally, but the Yankees lost the game in the 10th inning when they had like two of their players run each other over trying to tag somebody out at first base. So it's just more like, I'm so sick of the Mets being listen, they deserve to be the butt of most of the jokes. But like now involving the Mets in this and wanting to get a comment from them on the Edwin Diaz of it all, it's just so silly. But it's not, this is the media environment that we're in. This is never, ever going to change. It's just only going to get worse as, people are desperate for clicks and all of that. But anyway, that's
I would say like the worst part of it is like when you know how like the Mets are always the joke of things, is like, again, going back, feels like Dodgers are always protected with how they continue to glaze Ohtani, despite the fact that Ohtani his bat has gone very cold, but they still found a way to tweet about how incredible he is in a series that they lost to Atlanta. Like, Atlanta kicked their asses that series. So it's just one of those things where, like, why does Dodgers only get positive media over and no one else gets to enjoy that same whatever you want to call it?
Grace.
Yes.
Effusiveness. I know. Ridiculous. Well, I want to touch on something really quickly. Somebody who exemplifies grace, who I have been missing so much, and that's Dusty Baker. Dusty was doing a podcast interview and he was recalling his hiring as Astros manager amid the scandal. He was up for the Phillies manager job that ultimately went to Joe Girardi that year. And he got the Astros job, a job that many thought was AJ Hinch's job for life at that point. And the scandal came up, and Dusty, number one, was like, I didn't care about the scandal because I wasn't there for it. Like I was hired to manage the team that I had, and what a gift that was, inheriting a team of literal superstars. Dusty did so much behind the scenes that we will never know, to really help bring peace and bring the Astros back to some sort of reality after that scandal rocked their clubhouse. But he mentioned the thing that bothered him the most was that Jose Altuve, who is the unofficial captain of the Houston Astros, got so much hate, and he was a guy that was least involved in this, and that has been well documented through this entire scandal. But it was really refreshing to hear Dusty again name that, because we are now nearly we're 9-10 years removed from that scandal, and it is something that is still misconstrued in the media and with fan bases.
And it's also, I think it's also really fresh on our brains, especially since the Dodgers did play the Astros here in Houston last week. And it's always around, whenever the Dodgers meets the Astros, you always get those very, very, very miserable fans coming out of like the woodwork. And they're always screaming about how, I don't care if we win 10 World Series, I will never let 2017 go. And it always turns into this whole thing of like, okay, good, be miserable then. That we won that ring. Sorry. Nothing to do about it. It's a decade ago. Like, we mentioned this on so many previous episodes that we've recorded. And it's just always, again, the Astros were the scapegoat for that whole situation because this was a league-wide issue. It was the Yankees were going to do the same thing. Dodgers doing the same thing. The 2018 World Series winnings, Red Sox are doing similar things. Players around the league have all stated it's a league-wide issue. It was not unique just to the Houston Astros. And just this time of year, whenever we play the Dodgers fans are pissed. Yankees fans want to jump in. It's like one of the things that you're like, y'all were doing it too. Sorry, y'all didn't do it as good as we did. Cry harder. Be miserable. I don't like, you are like so lucky to get this amazing baseball year in and year out, and you're still miserable about an incident that happened 10 years ago. At that point, you're just a miserable person. Sorry.
You said it best. There's nothing else I can add other than this also really made me miss Dusty Baker. I think we took for granted what having someone like him at the helm of our team. He is truly a leader of men, and that mold of major league manager, someone who will go out and fight like hell for their players. And not to say that the modern day manager doesn't care, but the modern day manager
they don't fight.
They don't fight, and they're so bogged down by the analytics, and that's just part of the job now, unfortunately. But man, Dusty, one of one, and just I miss him. I miss him.
I miss how he would always stand up for his players. Like, that's the one thing I think that also pisses me off a little bit about Espada. It's just you don't see Espada get in faces and like back his player up, and Dusty would. And Dusty had the respect of the entire clubhouse, minus maybe Chas McCormick, right? But like, everyone loved him. The fans loved him. I think in one of a book about him, it talked about how like after games he would take their leftover food and he would distribute that food to like the homeless camps like outside of like Minute Maid at that time. And so he was just such a good person.
It's rare when you get someone who's such a good person and such a great leader and has the success that he had. And I still kind of wish he was involved
Mhm.
either with the Astros organization or with another
Mhm.
organization in a more meaningful way, but also good on him for enjoying retirement while he's
Right.
still healthy and able to, but what a great
Right.
guy, and yeah, hey, he's the
Mhm.
manager of Team Nicaragua, so he's still got
Yeah,
that
that is
going
true.
for
He's
him.
still adjacent, baseball
Oh, man.
adjacent, but
Love
man,
that
that
guy.
video of him winning his World Series ring
Oh my
just
gosh.
always so always
Amazing.
brings tears to my eyes.
Me too, me too. Love
Yeah.
that guy. Well, Robyn,
Mhm.
on that note, it is time for our
Mhm.
wild pitch of the week. Why don't you lead us off?
Okay. So, I guess my wild pitch I don't even know if it's a wild pitch at this point.
Mhm.
Honestly, I think I mentioned it earlier. You know what? Keep losing. I don't care anymore. Keep losing. Lower that ticket price. Honestly, I'm not even mad. If you lose 100 games, hey, I get cheaper tickets this year and next
Mhm.
year.
Mhm.
If baseball still exists next year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If lockout doesn't happen. And then maybe that's the wake up call that Jim Crane needs to either sell the
Mm,
team, get a new general manager, get a new coach,
right.
um, get a new whatever, revamp it. I just think where some whatever is happening isn't happening. Maybe some person in Seattle hired an Etsy witch or something, and this Etsy witch's curse has really not let up. I don't know. But you
Yeah.
know what? At this point, I'm not even mad anymore. I'm not mad. I'm not depressed. I'm just like, I'm just watching those ticket prices and I'm going, praying for it to go down, like drop,
Yep.
drop, 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 drop. So, again, don't know if that's a wild pitch, but that's where I'm at.
I
What
hear
about you,
you.
Tom?
My wild pitch of the week is, and
Mhm.
again, I don't think this is like edgy or controversial, but
Right.
we Major League Baseball needs to
Mhm.
rethink about how they address injuries because for whatever
Mm.
reason, now we know and we've spoken about how there's the
Mhm.
increase in pitching injuries because of the pitch
Mhm.
clock, but also, we're seeing a ton of loose body injuries. We're seeing a ton of oblique injuries. And I
Mhm.
think there is something to be said about how Major League Baseball addresses the conditioning of their players because
Mhm.
we look at all other sports. We look at hockey, yes, guys get hurt, but they're back the next day. And maybe there's something a little bit more gritty and tough about a hockey player, and arguably there is. But you look at basketball, you look at
Right.
football, and maybe it's the fact that they're not playing 162 games this
Right.
season. That certainly has something to do with it. But
Right.
Major League Baseball needs to do something because they are a star driven sport ultimately.
Right.
And so many of their stars are currently not playing baseball. And that's not
Right.
good for business. But
Right.
ultimately, that's also not good for the players because it does affect
Right.
their potential earnings long
Right.
term if they do miss an injury. You know, you have these just like bizarre and seemingly freak injuries. Carlos Correa hurting himself
Mhm.
at batting practice, not even in a game.
Right.
And
Right.
there's only so many times you can say, like, yeah, these are just such freak injuries before you start to say, like, what the hell is going on with how we are conditioning these guys
Mhm.
to be ready for the marathon that is 162 games.
Mhm.
I don't know, right? There's a there that I really want somebody way smarter than me to look into because
Right.
it's just really, really disappointing to see the amount of injuries that have decimated
Mhm.
teams like the Astros and the Mets
Mhm.
um, this season so far.
Right. No, I agree. I just think I think it I think it really does come down to there's that wear and tear of playing 162 games a year
Mhm.
and then having to train and condition in the off season to then come back and do another
Yeah,
162 games a year. So I think that's just that frequent wear and tear on the body is going to eventually run its course, right?
yeah,
So I don't
agree.
know if MLB has a plan for it. I don't know if conditioning even better conditioning will help at this
I
point.
don't know.
But it just sucks to see, like, on our teams, we see it like firsthand, but like across the league, just players going down every
Yeah.
day for
Yeah.
something.
It's depressing. It's depressing.
And then you put the rock music.
Play us out. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Major League Baseball. It's also that time of the episode where I let you know how I'm doing in fantasy baseball. And for the first time this season, I made it to 11th place. I'm back in 12th.
That's fun. That's exciting.
That is on growth, a growth mindset, and I am still on a pathway to first place. Robyn, have some faith. Keep the faith.
All right. Sure. We'll chase the fight. Catch y'all next time.
Goodbye.